string. I love the cord because it's flexible. Okay, why grid? It gives you a visual on how you can plant. I needed that. Some of you are spatial engineers, I get that. My husband is. Me, when I'm totally serious, my first time I planted out there, I was out there with a ruler, folks. Going, oh, it said 4 inches from here, and this one has to be 4 inches. Oh, it looked beautiful, but it didn't work. It wasn't practical because I have drip irrigation and I had to pay attention to where the water was going. And a plant that's not close enough to a drip didn't get the water it needed. Mm-hmm. So I learned that, you know what, it can evenly spaced, looks pretty, but I have to be practical here. So I love the grid because when you get your packet, it will tell you how many seeds for spacing. 12 inches, 6 inches, 4 inches, 3 inches, and that tells you how many you can put in a square. And the square is right there for you. I like that. I did it 2 inches apart with my ruler. The depth was perfect because I used my ruler, and I covered them up and patted them down and watered them, etc. And there were a whole bunch. The whole row did not germinate. I'm like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? It was the seeds. Mm-hmm. If you want to know if your seeds will germinate, especially ones that you've been keeping, take 2 or 3, wet them like overnight in a little Dixie cup, then put them on a paper towel, a wet paper towel, put them in a windowsill where they get heat. I should say it's not sun they need, it's heat. And if they produce little radicals, they're called baby roots. If it produces a radical, then you have a viable seed. Then you say, hey, yeah, that's what I got. If none of them do it, then your seeds won't germinate. And that's nice to know ahead of time rather than sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and then nothing comes up. Know that you have to plan ahead, guys. Square foot gardening is really cool and it's really time efficient, but the planning is actually where a lot of your time will be spent, which is nice. It can be done in air conditioning. So some things have to be started 6 to 8 weeks here in Texas, especially tomatoes if you're growing by seed. So you have to start them by seed before you need to, quote, plant them in the garden. So pay attention to instructions on the seeds or things that you want to grow. I told you about symmetry, it's nice, but pay attention to where your water is. Know what you're planting. I planted a sunflower. Someone gave me the seeds. It said sunflower. I go, oh, how cool. This is going to be so neat. And it'll bring in the insects, beneficial insects for my garden. I put them towards the front. Remember I told you the back is for the taller plants. I put it towards the front. Just 3 of them. I said, sunflowers, that'll be nice. Sunflowers. This was like Jack and the Beanstalk. Everybody said, look at the sunflowers. They grew about 10 feet tall. The trunks, I'm not lying, the trunks were about that big. Wow. This is in a square foot. Oh, wow. And everybody walked in and go, oh my gosh, look at what you've done. And I said, yeah, but look at what I did. They shadowed the stuff behind them. And so I didn't produce as much as I had wanted to. But my point is, pay attention to how big it is. You say, well, then I can't grow it. Sure you can, it's your garden. If you want to do the 4x4 and make the 4x4 one big plant, you can do that. You can. So when I have bigger things, I now know those grids. I now know I need to use these 2 or these 3 grids for this one plant. Mm-hmm. And that way, I don't have too much. You say, what's wrong with too much? If you plant stuff so compact and you have a jungle out there, which I have had, disease and insects are your problems. Mm-hmm. So they need air circulation, and so you need to plan accordingly. Wire trellises, we talked about that, are better than the beautifully bulky ones. Rotate your crops. Bush plants, they say they're bush. They don't need staking. Yeah, I disagree. Yeah. Well, it all depends. I'm not a neat freak, but I don't like chaos. And I planted a rat's tail bush. It was a rat's tail bean bush thing. and it said it did not need trellising, that thing turned into one of these little balls of, I could not handle it, I pulled it out. I said, you're out of here. Remember, I only come once a week, so I didn't have a chance to get it organized before it just went like this and made one of those tumbleweed things, and I said, you're done, you're out of here, I don't care what you make. And keep an eye out for bugs. When I see a bug, I go, oh, you know, it's really hot. I'll deal with you next week. When I come back, they brought their family and relatives, and they've had babies, and instead of 1 or 2 bugs, I now am dealing with 25 or 30. So when you see bugs, deal with them instantly. And celebrate small successes.